The most expensive watches in the world are not the best watches in the world. Most are not even close. Today, we are running the numbers on 5 luxury pieces where you are paying for hype, scarcity, and status, and 5 where the price makes complete sense. Robber 5, Rolex Submariner at great prices. The Rolex Submariner is a genuinely great watch. Robust construction, reliable caliber, 100 meters of water resistance, and a design that has remained essentially correct since 1953. Nobody credible argues it is a bad watch. The problem is what it costs when you actually try to buy one. During the peak of the steel sports watch frenzy, Submariner references were regularly trading at double or even triple retail. Premiums have softened, but modern configurations still commonly sell 15 to 25% over list. The old narrative that Rolex always doubles your money is no longer the safe assumption it once was. For the price of a gray market Submariner, you could instead acquire 2 excellent watches, a Rolex Explorer and an Omega Speedmaster, with greater variety, equal daily satisfaction, and no scarcity tax embedded in either purchase. The Submariner at retail is a rational buy. At a meaningful gray premium, based on outdated assumptions, it is a different transaction entirely. Fantastic watch. Poor idea at stupid prices. If overpaying for a Rolex sounds bad, what happens when a brand skips the heritage entirely and just sells you the marketing budget, wrapped in ceramic and rubber? Robber 4, Ublau Big Bang. The Hublot Big Bang is one of the most recognizable watches in the world. That black ceramic case, those exposed screws, and the art of fusion design language give it a bold presence on the wrist. LVMH backing and decades of celebrity placement have made it one of the most visible watch brands on the planet. Here is what Hublot hopes you never check. Standard Big Bang references regularly depreciate 30 to 50% below retail on the secondary market. A watch you paid $10,000 for at the boutique will commonly sell pre-owned for $5,000 to $6,000. In the same price bracket, you can acquire watches with more refined movements, stronger finishing, and dramatically better resale behavior from manufacturers with deeper horological roots. Hublot is what happens when a marketing department achieves total victory over a movement department. When a brand invests more in sponsorships than in movement development, the buyer absorbs that cost and then absorbs it again when it comes time to sell. You're not buying a timepiece. You're funding a sponsorship portfolio with a clasp on it. Losing half your money on a Hublot is painful. Now imagine spending several $100,000 on a watch and still not getting the horological pedigree to justify it. Robber 3, Richard Mille RM. The Richard Mille RM 011 is visually unlike anything else in watchmaking. That tonneau case, those skeletonized bridges, that flyback chronograph with an annual calendar, it looks like something extracted from a racing car and strapped to a wrist. The titanium and carbon construction genuinely keeps weight down. This is not a fashion watch pretending to be technical. Here is what Richard Mille hopes you never compare. Real-world transaction prices for the RM011 regularly reach several $100,000. For that money, you're entering the same bracket as grand complications from Patek Philippe, Vacheron Constantin, and A. Lang & Son, houses with a century or more of documented high horology and secondary markets that have proven their resilience across multiple economic cycles. The RM011 is a phenomenal object. But when a significant portion of the price carries brand heat and celebrity association, rather than centuries of horological tradition, the value equation depends entirely on the brand remaining culturally relevant. At 6 figures and beyond, that is not a risk most buyers should be taking. You're not buying a complication. You're funding a brand at the peak of its cultural moment. Richard Mille at least has genuine engineering to point to. The next watch leans on something far simpler, a single iconic design, a famous octagon, and a price that has been quietly climbing for years. Robber 2, Audemars Piguet, Royal Oak, 15500. The Audemars Piguet Royal Oak shares the same Gerald Genta bloodline as the Nautilus. The octagonal bezel, The tapisserie dial, the integrated bracelet with its alternating brushed and polished surfaces. It is one of the genuinely great watch designs of the 20th century, and Audemars Piguet has been raising prices aggressively to make sure you know it. Here is what Audemars Piguet hopes you overlook. The brand's own website lists retail prices it openly describes as non-binding recommendations. Non-binding. That language is not accidental. It is an acknowledgement that demand, not manufacturing cost or even list price, sets what buyers actually pay. Real-world transaction prices for steel Royal Oaks have hit all-time highs, driven by anniversary releases, celebrity association, and the same scarcity engineering that inflated the Nautilus. A great design can become a bad buy. When you are chasing a watch because of what it signals rather than what it does, you are funding someone else's marketing strategy. The status symbol became the speculative asset. Those are not the same thing. Everything we have covered so far has been building toward one watch, the one that turned a simple steel case into a six-figure status object and convinced an entire generation that overpaying was a privilege. Robber 1, Patek Philippe Nautilus, 5711 and 5811. The Patek Philippe Nautilus is the poster child of the integrated steel sports watch bubble. That horizontal embossed dial, that porthole case, that tapisserie finishing, those elements combine to make it one of the most beautiful watch designs ever produced. Gerald Genta drew it in a single night in 1972, and it has looked correct ever since. Here is what Patek Philippe hopes you never calculate. That watch, 3 hands, a date, no complications worth speaking of, is currently trading on the secondary market between $70,000 and $130,000. The retail price for buyers lucky enough to secure one through an authorized dealer is a fraction of that. The gray market is not rewarding you for owning a complicated movement. It is charging you a FOMO tax on a steel watch that tells the time and the date. From a pure horology standpoint, you can acquire better finishing, more complex movements, and stronger long-term value from several other prestigious manufacturers for less than half of what the gray market demands for a Nautilus today. The hype cycle has already visibly cooled. Late entrants are holding a position that has already started losing altitude. You are not buying a watch. You're buying the right to say you own one. Those are the 5 watches where the story does the heavy lifting the movement never could. Now we look at 5 watches where the price is honest and the craft backs it up. Worth buying 5. Cartier Santos. The Cartier Santos is one of the oldest purpose-built pilot's watch designs in existence. Louis Cartier created the original in 1904 for aviator Alberto Santos Dumont, who needed to read the time without taking his hands off the controls. That is not brand mythology. That is the documented origin of the modern wristwatch. The current steel Santos offers quick switch bracelet and strap systems, solid water resistance, and a square case with exposed screws that remains as distinctive today as it was a century ago. Pricing for core steel references falls roughly in the $7,000 to $11,000 range, significantly below the gray market cost of a Nautilus or Royal Oak for a watch with equal or greater design pedigree. The Santos is the luxury sports watch the market forgot to inflate. While the crowd queues for a Nautilus, you buy a Santos and wear a watch that helped invent the category they are all chasing. Heritage alone does not make a watch worth buying. What happens when a manufacturer combines heritage with hand finishing so precise that the Swiss industry has quietly chosen not to compete with it? Worth buying 4. Grand Seiko Snowflake SBGA 211. The Grand Seiko Snowflake is the watch the Swiss industry hopes you never discover. That dial is hand-textured by craftspeople at the Shizukuishi Watch Studio, using techniques that replicate the surface of freshly fallen snow. The Zaratsu polishing process creates mirror-sharp case edges through individual hand finishing on every component, a process Swiss brands at the same price point have largely automated. Grand Seiko does not automate it. The finish is the product. The spring drive movement achieves accuracy of plus or minus 1 second per day through a mechanism that exists nowhere else in watchmaking. At approximately $6,200, comparable finishing and movement technology from a Swiss manufacturer would cost nearly double. You are not paying for advertising budgets or a Swiss address premium. You are paying for handwork and engineering from a manufacturer confident enough to let the craft speak for itself. That obscurity is your advantage. Obscurity is a powerful thing in this market. The next watch understood that long before it became a talking point, and built a loyal following by simply refusing to cut corners. Worth buying 3, Tudor Black Bay 58. The Tudor Black Bay 58 addresses something the Submariner no longer does. A serious, compact dive watch at a price that does not require a waiting list or a gray market premium. At approximately 39 millimeters, with a COSC certified in-house movement and 200 meters of water resistance, the Black Bay 58 delivers coherent design and genuine daily wear functionality for under $6,000. Yes, it has become a standard recommendation. That does not change the underlying value math. It became standard because it is correct. At or near retail, this represents far stronger risk-reward than paying a gray premium for a Submariner. You are not buying a substitute. You are buying a well-built, historically grounded dive watch from a manufacturer that shares its ownership structure with the most valuable watch brand on Earth. Solid construction and rational pricing will take you a long way. But some watches earn their place through something bigger than both. A story so well documented that no marketing department could have invented it. Worth buying 2, Omega Speedmaster Professional. The Omega Speedmaster Professional has been to the moon. NASA certified it for extravehicular activity in 1965, and it was on the wrist of every Apollo astronaut who stepped onto the lunar surface. That heritage is documented, verifiable, and unrepeatable. The current caliber 3861 carries META's certification, delivering improved anti-magnetic resistance and documented accuracy standards. Pre-owned Speedmaster references regularly sell at or below retail, meaning you are paying for the watch itself, not for a scarcity premium. Enthusiast reviews consistently describe the Speedmaster as delivering near-perfect satisfaction per dollar, especially when bought pre-owned. This is the antithesis of the Nautilus gray market trap. Legendary story, accessible pricing, no waiting list. When a watch earns its icon status through actual history rather than engineered scarcity, the ownership experience is fundamentally different. Moon landings are hard to top, but there is one watch left, quieter than the Speedmaster, less visible than the Submariner, and almost certainly the most rational steel sports watch you can buy right now. Worth buying 1, Rolex Explorer 124270. The Rolex Explorer 124270 returned to its classic 36mm case and delivers exactly what Rolex does best, without any of the theater that drives gray market premiums to absurd levels. Caliber 3230, 70 hours of power reserve, sapphire crystal, a clean 3-hand dial with nothing to distract from daily wear. Enthusiasts consistently describe the Explorer as the Rolex that still makes sense. Less visible than the Submariner, less hyped than the Daytona. That relative obscurity translates directly into more rational access and smaller premiums over retail. It is boring on Instagram. It is brilliant in real life. The gray market has not inflated it beyond reason because the crowd has not noticed it yet. That is your advantage. Use it before they do. Next time you find yourself reaching for a gray market Nautilus or a Big Bang because everyone else seems to want one, ask yourself one question. Does the watch earn its price? Or does the price earn the watch? The answer is almost always obvious once you stop listening to the boutique and start reading the secondary market. Subscribe if this saved you from an expensive mistake.